I'll come to the subject, but this is about the entire universe, the entire world, for which incidentally you get a bird's eye view only when you fly in one of your aircrafts. From down you can't see it properly. And this sloka is 1,000 years old, and it defines what our sages have taught for thousands of years. Let me repeat it. Sarve bhavantu sukhinaha, sarve santu niramaya, sarve bhadrani pashyantu, ma karchid dukhapat bhavet. If I may add from the Upanishad, which is very clear even if I say it, loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. This is the aim of life. We are standing here, I'm facing you all, so therefore I thank Sri C.B. Anantakrishnan, Sri Sandeep Patnaik, who kept pursuing this trip to HAL, Sri Pradhan, Sri Nagarajan Balaji, other dignitaries in front, the people who belong to the HAL and those who do not, all my friends who are sitting in front of me, sisters and brothers, ladies and gentlemen. I'm very happy to be addressing this gathering, skill development. I requested that I may be allowed to speak what I want, and it was agreed, so I'm going to speak from my heart. Skill is an essential part not only of survival in this world, but also in developing the world into excellence. Skill is very important. I would say that the entire understanding of human nature and Prakriti, which is nature of the world, can be compared to science in its pure form, and the implementation of what you learn and also the practices which are required to enter the inner essence of all-pervading consciousness, both these require skill. One is the skill of presenting what you have learned so that others understand in simple language what is this all about. The other is the skill to have the practical training to reach levels of spiritual excellence. I would also say perfection in ordinary day-to-day life and excellence in the understanding of science. Both these require skill, so it's a two-way thing. Skill to understand and skill to impart. Both are required. That's why my teacher, my master, Maheshwarnath Babaji, used to say that if you want to be a good teacher, first you have to be a good student. So therefore, all discoveries, all wonderful things that have happened in this universe, spiritual or otherwise, could be spiritual science or material sciences, they've all started with this attitude that I do not know. In fact, the Upanishad declares, he who knows, knows not, he who knows not knows. It's people who ask questions and were not satisfied with the status quo, who discovered new things and moved forward. So in this context, you have a wonderful organization here, which is not even an organization, it is by itself an entity, I would say, the Hindustan Aeronautics Limited. Now, the work that you're doing requires skills. To present the work that you're doing to the outside world in simple language, not in technical language, also requires skill. So I think skill development, both these things should be included. Now, the greatest skill, of course, is the development of human mind. There is no better skill than that. If you learn how to tap the infinite energies that are available to us in the human mind and use it to fulfill whatever you want to fulfill, that is the greatest skill. So in this context, I would say that there is one ancient text which is with us for 1,000 years or so, which is an excellent manual of not only inner development but also outer development. Not only the way to control the mind, capture it and make it do what you want, and also a perfect manual of how to fight the outer war. The inner and the outer, both are reflected in it. And this, it forms one of the Prasthanatrayas, the most important curriculums in the study of Vedanta. Now let me redefine Vedanta with a definition not my own, but which comes from a great speaker, teacher, yogi, philosopher, I don't know how to define this, Swami Vivekananda. He picked up this Upanishadic dictum and said, the future of the world is Atmano Mokshartha Jagat Hitaya cha. Moksha for the soul and Hita, which means goodness for the outer world. It includes development, movement, skill, everything. And this text which I refer to, I think many of you know, with the Bhagavad Gita. Well, it's called the Song of the Lord, because songs sometimes express things which prose cannot. Also, it means not just the words of the Gita, but the source where it has come from. Whenever you start any one chapter of the Gita, one starts by saying, Shri Paramatmane Namaha, I bow down to the Supreme Being, who here Vyasa has depicted in the form of Krishna addressing Arjuna. If you look at it, our entire life, scientific, non-scientific, political, non-political, humanitarian, anything, is governed by the inner and the outer. If I don't have peace of mind, if I don't have a quiet and tranquil heart, I will not be able to think sharply, first of all. I'm always disturbed. My mind is dissipated. It's wasting energy in dissipation. Where is the energy gathered together to go into important things? Great scientists, great yogis were experts in gathering and garnering this energy, which is normally dispensed with and used and dissipated, to gather it together in one place, and therefore that was the secret of their tremendous achievements. If you look at the Gita, which I was explaining, It is 18 chapters. 18 chapters. And each chapter is called a yoga. One would wonder why this is called a yoga. Because yoga is the science of tuning in with your inner self and therefore being able to perform outside with complete skill and attention. And since all the chapters deal with it, each chapter is called a yoga. Now, look at the situation. The Gita was not preached in a cave. It was not preached in the forest hermitage, which is usually the case with many texts like the Upanishads and so on. It was taught in the middle of a battlefield. Well, if you trust Vyasa, the middle of the battlefield. Here are two people standing against each other. Thick of the battle goes the chariot of Arjuna. And here is Krishna sitting as the humble charioteer, not so humble of course. That's why you should always respect your drivers there. They can either lead you to HAL or take you to the hospital. A Sarathi is very important. So Krishna is called Partha Sarathi. The Sarathi of Partha, who is Arjuna. So here in the middle of the battlefield, it is preached. It is not preached in a quiet, peaceful place. And what is it talking about? How to remain collected, concentrated, tranquil in the midst of even a battlefield. Not only the battlefield of life, but actually a physical battlefield also. All these ancient scriptures always have two interpretations. One is for the outside world, one is for the inner world. And what is happening here? Now, if you ask me what is the crux of the Bhagavad Gita's teaching, in connection with what we are discussing now, it is one particular teaching of Krishna in the Gita, which says the greatest, the most skilled among men, when I say men, I mean the most skilled among human beings, are those who are sarvatra samabuddhaya, tranquil under all circumstances. No circumstance can put them down. If there is an adverse circumstance, they would still stand up and win without being agitated. This is the skill, human skill to be developed. And if you have that, you have such supply of energy, of course good and benevolent energy, and if required may be aggressive if peace is threatened. And this energy comes from the inner, from our inner senses, from our inner heart, from our inner consciousness. So while we perform the world's works skillfully, if you have a tranquil, quiet mind which has not dissipated any energy, that work also will turn out to be perfect and good. What if it doesn't turn out perfect? Don't sit there and hold on, oh, this did not happen, I am a failure. The Gita says, step out, think of why it failed and move forward. All people who have achieved anything significant have failed many times. There's nobody who hasn't failed. Personally, if you ask me, when I was 19 and I went up to the Himalayas, I just went away one day. There are no 19-year-old people here, so they won't, I hope, take it as an example and run away from home. I did. And for the next 1 year, till I got hold of Maheshwarnath Babaji, or rather, he found me, I was in such an abject state of despair that I thought it is better to die than to live. I thought maybe this body in this birth is not suitable for this adventure that you have started. Maybe you should die and come back next time in another body. If you don't come back, it's okay. At least I did my best. This was my frame of mind. And then I met my teacher, Maheshwarnath Babaji, who was from the Natha Sampradaya. Well, I don't wear all the things of the Natha Sampradaya, because Babaji said, you don't need to. He said, don't go to the United States, you will have to go, which of course I got very frightened of first. Don't go there wearing all paraphernalia, be like everybody else. So I am like everybody else, right? Don't take my word for it, I am pretending to be like everybody else. There's something inside and something outside. Anyway, so let's go back to the Gita, hark back to the Gita. The first chapter is very significant. People usually skip. It's called Arjuna Vishada Yoga. The yoga of Arjuna is sorrow. Now Vishada can be translated sorrow, insecurity, doubt. There are many interpretations. Sanskrit is a language where one word has multiple meanings. General translation is Arjuna's failure, Arjuna's pain, Arjuna's insecurity and doubt. How am I going to do this? Of course, he uses an excuse to cover it up and say, oh, they are my relatives, and so on and so forth. And refuses and says, I'm going back. So Krishna says to him, look here, my friend, you were okay till now. What's happened to you? Where has this weakness got into you? And then the rest of the whole Gita, the rest of the 17 chapters, are instructions on how to overcome this weakness, the skill to move forward. It's very important. The next chapter, of course, is Sankhya Yoga, which gives a complete understanding of the world and how it came about. And if you will be surprised to know that if you go into Sankhya, if you read the Sankhya Pravanchana Sutra or of Kapila, Kapila Muni is supposed to be one of the earliest, I would say, spiritual scientists. So important that in the Gita, Vyasa has made it a point that Krishna says, among the Munis, I am Kapila. And he is the founder of the darsana called Sankhya. Now, the ordinary meaning of the word Sankhya is numbers. But here it means that which analyzes the entire world and Prakriti and sees how it. You will be surprised that there are chapters which appear to be similar, maybe couched in a different language, of today's quantum science and quantum physics. This is something to be noted. I'm not saying that quantum physics came from Kapila, please. I'm not saying that. I'm only saying that if you look at it, you will find so many similarities, in fact very little dissimilarities, that you will wonder, how did this guy come to this conclusion? Where were the instruments for him? How did he find out? Even today, you know it. Some of you at least have a great grounding in science, so you know it. Even today, you cannot find out the quantum matters through any microscope, can you? When the most powerful microscope, like the electron microscope, cannot see a quantum particle. Well, we don't even know if it's a particle or a wave. So that's a different story. We can't. Then how do we know it? Through its reactions in a field. That's how you detect it. And it is so uncertain that when you think it is a particle, it behaves like a wave. When you think it's a wave, it is behaving like a particle. This is called the theory of uncertainty. From the certainty of Newtonian physics, we have now come to the quantum theory of uncertainty, improbability. Where are we moving? Why? Because it is only like in Arjuna's psychological state of uncertainty and failure that new things happen if you don't give up. So never give up is the message. Look at all worldly things. Forget about the spiritual for the time being. Albert Einstein was only a tally clerk, and much of his theory of relativity was noted down on the receipts which he was making for the tally. Later on, Ramanuja was accepted into a prestigious university, but he had not gone to any other university before. How is this possible? The great inventor, forget about pure science, the great inventor Thomas Alva Edison tried to invent the electric bulb and failed 99 times. 100th time he won. Today what do? Just put on the switch. We don't know how hard the man worked. What inspiration was behind him that he didn't give up? I would say that it is unconsciously, not knowing, he followed the message of the Gita, which is don't give up. He followed the message of the Upanishad, Uttishta Jagrata Praptya Varannipodat, which means get up, wake up, stand up, don't stop till you reach your goal. Now, anything developed to do this in this world or in the inner world is what is meant by skill from my understanding. Action in perfection, karmasu kausalya, the proper act which is accompanied by an inner understanding and quietness of mind. So, why did I say all this to you? Because you're all skill development, of course, but you are dealing with aeronautics, and believe me, I want to encourage you or suggest to you that while you are engaged in wonderful things, I agree, day by day it's improving, we are becoming Atmanirbhar, we have our own aircrafts these days, most of it. Soon we will have everything, I think. If we have somebody who can lead into this, we'll surely go there. But have we also thought about the inner, the skill to develop inner consciousness, the mind, which can stay undisturbed in the midst of failures? You know, in the aircraft, when there is a turbulence, what happens? Many people panic. They don't know what is happening. The expert pilot, who has gone through many flights, then makes an announcement. Please don't worry, we are going through enough turbulence. Put on your seat belts if you are not, and don't use the toilet. Right? Because he knows ultimately we are going to get across the turbulence. So this is the role of a spiritual teacher. Not only in this world, but also in the spiritual, especially in the spiritual field. As you begin the journey, many times there is turbulence. You would wonder if I can ever get across this block, but that is where the teacher comes in and says, relax, you're going to get through this. This turbulence is going to go and you're soon going to land wherever you're landing. And also remember that in an aircraft, the takeoff and landing are both such important factors. It is the same in the spiritual field, the takeoff and the landing. I had a good friend, Rajagopal, from my school who went to the NDA, then he became an officer in the paratroopers. So many years later, when he was still, he retired as a general, when he was still Air Commodore, he came to Trivandrum and I suddenly saw him near the Sri Kanteshwaram temple, one of my favorite haunts. And then I said, hey Raja, now you must be doing this paratrooping all your life, right? It must be very easy. He froze. He said, no, you're wrong. Every jump is a new jump. And he had jumped hundreds of times. It's not that. So when you set off in life, consider that every jump is a new jump. And if you panic, you will not land down there. You may forget even to pull your parachute. This is important to note. And what are the characteristics that one develops to keep one's mind going and to develop the skill of survival and the skills of development in the outside world? That is the mind. How to keep the mind tranquil under all circumstances. This is no place to go entirely into the teachings of the Gita. I think the 18th chapter is the last chapter. I always say one of the few things which I could not discard even after I came back from the Himalayas, leaving, because of my father, was golf. So now when I am not teaching and when I am not doing things, I go and play a few rounds of golf somewhere, 2-3 days, and everything is okay. You know why? Because that game also is a game that requires tranquility of mind. If you are agitated, you will never be able to hit the ball. 2, it's a technique. It's not force. Try hitting the ball with full. You will not do it. It may go hit the water tank. What you want is skill. You should know exactly what posture, what skill, what attention, where. Anybody who plays golf knows you may be swinging your club, but where is your eye and where is your attention? On the ball. Right? And then 18 holes, 18 chapters of the Gita. Finally you reach the last hole. There is a 19th watering hole, I am not interested, but so consider everything that you do in life as a development of skills. And skill is not something that is drilled and practiced. I think skill comes from a quiet, tranquil, intelligent mind which has learned to survey and survive and to surmount all obstacles. Such a mind becomes a creative mind, a mind which is ready to break free and look at new things. Youngsters come to me, I like to go and speak in colleges, schools, IITs, IIMs. Youngsters come to me and they ask, sir, don't you think all this thing is old hat? Shouldn't we look? I said, listen, have you looked at it? When you look at it, you will realize that it is newer than the newest hat that you have. You haven't looked at it. Now for this, I think I have a suggestion which I want to give you. While you develop skills in other things, in running your company or running your, doing your research and becoming more and more perfect, please, and if you want, if you wish, I am willing to help you out, have at least one part of your skill development program for the practice of meditation and yoga. Believe me, I know somebody who is busy all the time. He goes from office to his house. There is a home office in which he sits with a laptop till 2:30 in the night. And then he goes home and at 6 o'clock he is doing yoga. The personal secretary says, I cannot practice. I said, how? Boss is doing, why can't you? So, what I mean to say is that this practice of yoga, it can be very short, very small. It need not be connected to even religion, for that matter. if one can introduce this into skill development in some way, I'm sure there are so many big institutions like the Vivekanand Kendras, or what little we can help if you like. Please, and say it is only for those who are interested. Somebody doesn't want, it's okay. Keep it optional. We have spoken Sanskrit in our school. It's optional. 80% of the children, no matter what their names are entered in their passports, are very interested in learning. Why? Because it takes them very easily to classics and they enjoy. Kalidasa wrote in Sanskrit. Did he write anything about religion? Aryabhata wrote mathematics. Is there anything else to do with that? Any denomination? No. There are great mind scientists. There have been great rishis who are, I would say, the definition of a rishi is a scientist who explores the inner world while the other scientists explore the outer world. So my, what shall I say, suggestion or my, I plead that you introduce a little bit of practice of yoga and meditation in an entirely non-denominational manner into your skill. If you are not doing already, I don't know if you are. Maybe you are. Can we do that, sir? I can't say do it, I can only suggest. If we do this, I'm sure the skill development that is going on today you will see it reaches better horizons. You're doing wonderful work. I've been seeing the videos. Great. Can we add Atmano Mokshartha a little bit inside? Jagat Hit is going on. It will be strengthened. And please, it is my experience, personal experience. I have gone into this, I have explored into this, and I have found that it is good for all, irrespective of anything else externally. So with this, I just want to chant the Shanti Mantra and conclude this talk. It simply means, may there be peace. Now, any aggression that destroys peace has to be sometimes handled with aggression. I understand that. But the attitude should be for the good. In the Gita, Krishna doesn't ask Arjuna to run away. He says, fight. But what is the intention of that? Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. For the good of the world, not for oneself. You just keep this in mind. And thank you for inviting me here. I have also been kind of flying with the aircrafts that you fly, in my mind. And it's a wonderful experience to physically also fly and take off from the earth. Can this also be converted into spiritual flight, where the ordinary mind flies into the infinite horizon and realizes that it is actually a spark of the divine and not this limited individual that one thinks of. That is the ultimate skill, all available to us in our ancient texts. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Thank you very much.